today's going to be a bit different because two exciting things has happened today. Two. Number one, I bought trousers. I bought new trousers. I never buy new clothes. I'm actually on a low buy this year, so I'm trying not to buy new clothes. I've ended up buying 12 items. Yes, 12 items this year, and that includes jewellery. Jewellery and clothes, yes. But that's beside the point. Because what have I got in my hand? Yeah! We have a lightweight spindle. This, for those that don't know, and you will not know, I was prepared, maybe, slightly. I was trying to spin with this, and as you may not realise this, but I have this thing where I can't spin thick at the moment. I eventually will learn how to spin thicker consistencies, but at the moment I physically can't. I spin everything thin. I can't help myself. I was spinning on this. This weighs about 64 grams, roughly around that number. No, I weighed it earlier. 66 grams. Yes, I weighed it earlier because I was prepared. And yeah. It speaks for itself, really. If you don't know, you spin thick, heavier spindle, spin thinner, lighter spindle. And, you know, the comments pointed this out and the comments are correct. And so I went ahead and I got myself a lighter spindle. And I have two. I have this one for heavier weights and this one for lighter weights. It's versatile. It's great. That can go away right now. So, people name their wheels, right? So I have a thing where I'm like, people name their wheels, but no one names the spindles. So this is Penny. This is Penny. Penny is going to go away right now. And now we have this guy. We do. We have this guy. And I've attached a leader. And I weighed this guy and it came out as like 24 grams roughly. So that's a lot lighter now, isn't it? Now, is this light enough to do the thin spinning I've been doing? It's still going to be a vast improvement, let's be clear. A vast improvement upon what I was doing before. Now, last video, I was spinning on Poppy the support spindle. And yeah, I haven't made any progress since then. But I just came onto the video because I was excited because it's arrived. Yes. So we're going to do the dreadful thing. We're going to have multiple spins in progress. We are. Because I'm excited and I'm allowed to be excited over a new spindle. And then I shall return to the support spindle. Yes, I shall. So. Now, one thing I've already noticed with this support spindle, because this support spindle is an Ashford support spindle. It's just what my local place had. And I'm kind of noticing, the first thing I noticed was that the notch isn't very deep on it. It's got a very tiny little notch. You see that? Tiny, tiny. So it's like really easy for the yarn to just like slip off. Also, this hook comes down like quite low. So it's actually not the easiest to like hook it on. Well, this one, because it's got this nice curved hook with a big gap here and nice deep notch, it's really easy to like slip stuff onto it really easily. This one I feel like is going to annoy me a little bit until I get used to it. And I will get used to it. It'll be fine. That's the only thing I will say that's a bit of a nuisance. Now, you might be wondering, but why are you starting a new project? Well, actually, I'm not starting a new project because here's the logic to it. This is BFL, right? This is BFL. And I have this thing I want to do where I spin a 3-ply in a BFL and corriedale. Look at that beautiful yellow. Look at it. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous yellow. Beautiful sunshine yellow. Yes, absolutely. We are here for it. That's the plan. This is going to be another single. This is going to be 2 plies of corriedale and 1 ply of BFL. That's the idea. That's what I want for the finished yarn. And I've talked about this before, actually, so this shouldn't be a surprise. And this is from Stash. I had this yellow corriedale already. So I weighed out 20 grams of this. There'll be 20 grams of the BFL. And so I need to make 2 singles of this. 2. 1 with 20 and 1 with 20. So we should get started, shouldn't we? We should. My hair is being annoying today. Humidity, because the heat wave will not end. We're due rain this week. Saturday evening, apparently. And I'm like, oh, give me rain. Give me all the rain. Let me tell you right now. It might actually, you know, calm down the humidity, which might even be enough for my hair to actually behave itself, because my hair does not like this humidity. You haven't seen a single darn video of my hair behaving normally. You haven't. I started my channel in the middle of a heat wave and I'm ending in a heat wave. This is the longest heat wave ever. It's not actually, but whatever. Right. So now, begin. Should I come forward a bit? Yeah. Okay. Because we're about to start. Yeah. I apologize for jostling the microphone. I apologize profusely. Headphone users, that must have been very unpleasant. I know, I wear headphones. I do. There we go. There we go. Yes! There we go! That's nicely joined. Good. Okay. Hold that down with my finger. Yes, the deliciousness. It's like caramel. Not caramel. It's not like caramel at all. It's like, well, actually you can do this sort of thing with caramel, but that wasn't where my brain was going. You know fairs? Cotton candy. Cotton candy, that's the one. It's like cotton candy. Yes. Wonderful. Well, my first ever time spinning on the spindle. Get a bit more speed going. I can't tell if that's easier yet. It might be easier. It's certainly not harder. I'll tell you that for a fact. This might be better. This might, I mean, I know it's better technique-wise, but technically it's better. But I'm trying to see what this feels like. I'm trying to describe to you what this feels like. Yeah, I'd say there's a lot less resistance. Less weight, obviously. And that kind of goes without saying. I feel like I'm drafting a lot more confidently. Without like worrying too much about it and just being like, yeah, this is working. Yeah, I feel like I'm drafting a lot more confidently. There is a bit of a slub right there, but you know. What do you expect from me? I'm not perfectly consistent. I'm not. Yeah, I feel like it's building up twist faster. As I said, I'm quite at the beginner, so I'm probably getting a lot of this technical stuff wrong. You should absolutely not come to me for tutorials ever. But to be clear, this is not bad at all. Gentle little tug to make sure it's not just, you know, I'm not, it feels like I'm overdrafting, but I'm not, because I can like tug very gently on this. And it's fine. So not overdrafting. Am I actually going to have, I might have a better yarn. I might have a yarn that's like more balanced, because maybe I'm not like putting too much twist into it. I'm putting just enough twist into it. Does that make sense? This is genuinely quite interesting, because this is not what I expected. I expected it to make a little bit of a difference, but this is quite a big difference actually. Yeah. Now, something I will say, I'm not normally one for logos. I'm not normally one for logos and stuff on things. So This might need a paint. Maybe. Probably not, actually. I'll probably never get around to it. It's probably one of those. This is, yeah, this is much easier. You know, if you told beginner me that this would make your life a lot easier, I don't know. I feel like the starting way. Let me try and remember the advice I got when I started. I think the advice I got when I started was leaning more chunky, because I think most people when they start don't start with this. They start with something that's much, much chunkier. And I feel like, and then they go thinner after the fact, right? Well, I started out thin purely by instinct because apparently I can't help it. Apparently I'm just like this, you know? And a lot of people are going, oh, isn't that good? And I'm like, is it good? I can literally only spin this one thickness. I don't think that's necessarily good. I think I should, you know, expand my horizons a little bit. But at the same time, I feel like the standard beginning advice didn't really apply to me because I didn't, you know, immediately go in and spin a chunky yarn. My first thing I spun was like, not quite this thin, but like close to it. It was like a little bit thicker. I think that's probably why I was probably told initially to get this weight as opposed to this weight. Because this is much more suited to the type of spinning I'm doing. Yeah. This feels better. I can't necessarily articulate why it feels better, but it does. It feels like it's, yeah, I guess it feels like it's fighting me less. That's true. This was definitely worth it. I think I only paid like 11 quid. How easy is that? Yeah, I feel like I'm struggling less. I mean, if you see me in earlier videos, I think it was where I'm using in Penny, the big strop spindle. I feel like it's become very clear that this is much better. In fact, I don't even think that this is like, you know, the weight you should be using for, you know, lace weight singles. But this is better than what I was using before. You know, 24 grams versus 66 grams. That's quite the difference. You know, that's like less than half the weight. So I weighed them on my kitchen scales, and granted my kitchen scales aren't 100% accurate, but they're pretty close. They'll put you in the ballpark. They're good enough to make a cake with, so, you know. I think that's good enough for me. Also, can we just stop to admire? So pretty. In fact, I also think this is easier than the sport spindle. Although part of that is probably because I'm not used to using a sport spindle. That is true. I think the sport spindle is heavier than this, but definitely lighter than Penny. I think everything is lighter than Penny. You know, Poppy is not nearly as, yeah. I don't actually know how much Poppy weighs. And I can't weigh Poppy right now because Poppy has fibre on them. I guess so. It doesn't really matter. Or a spindle. Yeah. One thing I am struggling with, I'm struggling to like keep my cob neat and tidy because it kind of feels like, how do I put this? On Penny, right, the Penny has these like ridges from, you know, being like hand turned. Looks like a chair leg. Someone just chopped off a chair leg and turned it into a drop spindle. But yeah, you can see, and it's got these ridges, so it's like really easy to get your cob started and like build it up without it sliding around everywhere. Well, this obviously doesn't have that because this is just a stick. So it does kind of mean that I'm not like building up the cob in a way that looks neat and tidy. I just realized too, you can see Elephant. Labrador was cuddling Elephant yesterday on the couch. Elephant had to go everywhere with him apparently. He just decided elephant was just, you know. And he's got a toy box over there, and he went rooting around, and he pulled the toys out and set them to the side, and then he looked around and he found elephant, and he decided elephant was the one today. He likes elephant. It was surprising me. I thought he'd just shred elephant, and he hasn't. I mean, elephant is looking a bit worse for wear, but not shredded. Not completely, no. I've seen that dog shred toys. He hasn't shredded elephant. No, not yet. And an elephant was just abandoned on the couch. Okay. That's funny. He's not here at the moment, but usually before he shows up after one of his excursions, I usually go around and tidy up all the toys and put it back in his toy box. And then he roots around his toy box and he picks out the ones he wants then. So, I think it works out nicely for him. And when I say toy box, to be clear, you're picturing in your head, I'm sure, a perfectly ordinary box. Our dog is peculiar. He decided that he wanted to eat the box. When we gave him the toy box, he wanted to eat the box. And not only did he eat the box, but he also grabbed it. Because he knew it wasn't allowed to eat the box. He would grab it, run upstairs, send all the toys everywhere, because bear in mind it was full, send all the toys all over the living room, and he'd run upstairs with the toy box so he could consume it in peace. Obviously, we couldn't allow that. We couldn't let him eat the toy box, you know, plastic toy box. Couldn't allow it. You send it all the way upstairs, just chaos, just toys everywhere. Anyway, we tried lots of different things and different toy boxes because we kept having to replace them because he kept eating them. What did we do? Well, actually, my stepdad, my parents' house have got like a proper coal fire. It's rural and stove for, so you know, and they have an old house, so they have a proper coal fire, proper wood burner. It's mixed fuel, so they can put wood or coal in it as they please. I think they mostly use wood nowadays, to be honest with you. Occasionally in the winter. So they have a bunch of spare buckets. You know, so my stepdad went out and he cleaned one up, so, you know. And then he put the toys inside it, and we're like, but they'll get dirty, they'll have coal. And he's like, no, I washed it really thoroughly until there's no dirt on it at all. I'm like, oh, okay. He is quite clean. He's very good with his cleaning. You know, so, you know, if he says something's clean, something's like spick and span. You know, he's one of those people. So spick and span. And he's put all his toys in there now. That's his toy box to have at my parents' house. He is unable to eat it. He hasn't even attempted it. He's just, no. But he'll put his head in it, he'll root around for the toys. So I'm like, this is exactly what we wanted. Yes. He is using his toy box like a toy box. Yes. So I went and bought myself a coal bucket. Purely for the dog to have a toy box. So he won't eat it. And it's proven highly effective. And he understands that's his toy box. I can't have a normal dog, can I? Nope, the dog has to have a whole bucket. It's fine. He's absurd. He's silly. He's so silly. Yeah, I feel like I can draft a lot thinner now. I'm trying not to because I want to keep quite a consistent weight going. But yeah, I definitely feel like I can draft a lot thinner now. If I really wanted to, I could make this quite thin. I think I could. If I stopped letting the twist go into the fibre. Then I could. This is really drafting really smoothly compared to before. It really feels like I am struggling less. This is much easier. You're watching me in real time discover the wonders of a lighter spindle. Yeah, this works. This works really well. I must admit, there was a part of me that was a bit like, oh, buying another thing? Another piece of equipment? Even spinning on a spindle has a surprising amount of equipment involved. You don't have to get a niddy noddy, but at the same time, it makes it a lot easier because I want to measure my end yarn and that kind of thing, and measure my grist and so forth. It's much easier to do with a niddy noddy because I'm kind of obsessed with, you know, keeping records of everything. So yeah, so niddy noddy, and then I was struggling with applying, so I was like, oh, would a lazy cake make it easier? Yes, it does. I think I pretty much did everything you shouldn't do as a beginner, but you know, we shall survive. We shall. Okay, I think I've done rambling about the spinning. Now there's another thing I want to ramble to you about. This is where the conversation about the spinning ends and where the rambling about random nonsense begins. You have been warned. Okay, I am trying to decompartmentalize the two because I think that'll be easier for the viewer. I think it will. Yes. I'm trying to keep the spinning portion to the beginning of the video and then the chatty side to the end of the video. Yes, maybe. I think that might work out better, I'm not sure. So I want to do a bit of chatting. Yes, I did. Now, today, something interesting happened. These arrived. Trousers. I bought trousers. I never buy trousers. I very rarely buy trousers because I very rarely buy clothes. And there's various different reasons for that. A lot of it is because, you know, around 2020, like many other people, I kind of, you know, went on to the minimalist craze, right? I did. Believe it or not, I did. You wouldn't believe it now, but I did. And, you know, I broke my single. I spun it too much. Yeah, it's really easy to put a twist into the yarn with this. Yeah, so I think I broke my single because I think that's why. Okay. I can fix this though. I'll let some of the twist go out of it, so because I overspun it is what happened, which is why I broke. Yeah, there you go. I'll let some of the twist go out of it before I rejoin, because otherwise I won't be able to rejoin properly. Okay. And then after that I should be okay. Should. We'll see. Yeah, so I did. And you know, I'm not into that sort of thing nowadays, but I let my spin twist go into the fibre. Ah! Come on. Oh no. Which means it's not drafting properly. There we go, fixed it. Sometimes you just need to park it just to sort yourself out. Yeah, so I'm even having to park and draft a little bit more because I'm putting that much twist into it that I'm not quite spinning as confidently. It's okay, I'll get used to it, it'll be fine. Yeah, so I was really into minimalism stuff and I'm not anymore. And there's a few reasons for that. I found it wasn't really, when it came to the wardrobe stuff, like a minimalist wardrobe, I found it wasn't really servicing me because I realised that pastel-y white, I've never really liked grey, never, not even when I was really young. I didn't like grey when I was really young and I still don't like grey. And white is just, it washes me out. It does nothing for me. You know, I'm quite pale. And I feel like white just makes me look more pale. And it's just not what I want. It doesn't make me feel like I'm at my best. So it doesn't really work for me. So that aesthetic didn't work for me. And of course, many people who follow minimalism will know that there's, you know, a difference between minimalism as a lifestyle and minimalism as an aesthetic. So I never really followed the aesthetic side of things, never. On the minimalism side of things, on the lifestyle side of things, you know, I borrowed a few ideas because I'm like, okay, because if you have lots of things entering into your home, you don't really stop to think about these things, right? It's not as intentional, meaning your wardrobe as a whole, you look at it and you're like, there's loads of clothes here and I can't even think to what to wear, right? That's a problem. So that's the problem that minimalism is trying to solve. I found it just didn't work for me, you know, and I was doing it for a good like 2 years and I would say it wasn't really working for me. There's a few things wrong. Firstly, I wasn't buying many clothes to begin with. I never liked clothes shopping, so I never really brought in much clothing to begin with. So the kind of the like, oh, stopping overconsumption, I wasn't really over-consuming to begin with. So that didn't really work because it was addressing a symptom that I didn't have, right? So yeah, that was that. Secondly, the issue was cohesion. Cohesion was something that just wasn't happening. You know, I could build up a capsule wardrobe from my existing wardrobe, build up a capsule wardrobe from that. I can almost guarantee you I would have found that extremely difficult because none of it matched. There was no like overarching idea, there was no like color story or anything like that, right? So it took me a long time to realize that the issue was that and I've spoken about like my thoughts about how my like colors changed over time and how, you know, I prefer different colors now compared to when I was younger. And that's fine. I've spoken about that before. That was one part of it. But also more broadly, I kind of felt like the only have X number of items enter your home per year was like that idea that you see in a lot of low buys didn't really apply to me almost. Because I kind of had the opposite problem. I would buy shirts because buying shirts is easy. And then I would not buy the difficult things, right? I wouldn't even look because I hate clothes shopping, so I didn't want to look. I didn't want to look at, you know, all these trousers which wouldn't fit me or wouldn't work for my body type or any of this malarkey. I didn't want to do that because it was just too much work. It's too difficult. I didn't want to do it. So I ended up with a wardrobe that had like a ridiculous amount of shirts and no trousers. None. Zero. It was a genuine problem. So I felt like the low buy, where you're limited to X number of items per year, I found that kind of overwhelming. It didn't really work with what the problem actually was, which was cohesion and a kind of a category concentration. You know, I had a category concentration problem. Instead of having like 10 shirts, 10 trousers, I had like 10 shirts, 2 trousers. I'm just making up numbers to be clear. But you get the idea in terms of ratio. And that was kind of a problem because it meant that it was actually harder to find things that worked and find things that match. And also when I did go clothes shopping, which was extremely rare, I didn't know what I was looking for. I had no idea. There was no framework from which that I could actually look at these things and make that decision of, does this belong in my wardrobe or do I think this is just pretty? I couldn't make that distinction because I didn't know what belonging in my wardrobe meant. So, firstly, I had a look at the colour palette that I wanted to do. And, you know, a lot of that came about from last year because I was living out of a suitcase for 9 months. But also, I decided, beginning of this year, that I would, joining new Fiverr already, exciting. I decided that beginning of this year, I would limit myself to 1 item per each category. And I split up my wardrobe into individual tiny little categories of like, here's what I actually wear, right? And, you know, shirts is 1 category. So I bought 1 shirt. 1. I'm not allowed to buy more. I have too many shirts. Good grief. But I allowed myself to buy 1, and that was it. And I bought a nice white and gingham checkerboard one. Check 1. Plaid, check. Let's say check. The beginning of the year. And that was it. For my entire shirt purchases for the rest of the year. And I had to look at different categories then. you know, to see. And I came up with a little matrix of like, here's all these colours, and here's all the categories. And then I filled in all the boxes of categories and where I have colours that are in my existing palette, because, you know, there's nothing wrong with my existing wardrobe except cohesion. Cohesion was a big problem. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to cap myself on X amount per year. What I'm going to do is cap myself per category. So 1 item per category. And it's a limit, not a target. And that meant that instead of buying like 10 shirts across the year and ending up with a wardrobe that doesn't make sense, I could then focus on building a wardrobe that made sense, essentially making sure that, oh, I'm adding new outfits into my wardrobe when I buy something new, and it will work with my existing wardrobe. So today, these are out. Orange trousers, like a terracotta colour. You know, I've got the curtains closed because heat wave. Heat wave. And that means that these probably don't look that orange, but they're quite orange. They're like a terracotta colour. They're not like bright, vivid orange, but they're relatively orange. So these are orange. So I can now say I have an orange pair of trousers. Because my colours are yellow, orange, red, green, brown, and black. Oh, I broke my single again. That's going to keep happening, isn't it? Because I'm not used to the spinning velocity of the spindle. That's fine. I'll get used to it and then I'll be fine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, every time I purchase, I'm not just going to, you know, purchase willy-nilly and be like, oh, I'll just buy any old skirt, for example. I'm going to buy a skirt when I know it fits within the palette, and I'm only going to buy one this year, and I don't already own a skirt of the same colour that's a solid within the same palette. Of course, the obvious flaw here is I bought a shirt that was a white and burgundy gingham. That's fine. This isn't, you know, a platform to be, you know, self-judging or anything of that nature, because that doesn't work. No. Instead, I'm going to focus on buying things slowly, being extremely fussy. I'm only buying stuff within this system. And then the end result of that, all these colours work together. So it means that anything I bring in will pretty much go with everything. Everything in the wardrobe will match everything else. Cohesion. And also not limiting myself to an arbitrary number across the year, but per category. So everything is spread out. So there's no single category that gets heavy distribution. Yes, that's the idea. And yes, I have corriedale up my nose. I keep thinking to me, the silk was honestly the worst one. The silk honestly set my nose off like you would not believe. Like, even like a week later, you know, sat down at my desk upstairs, because that's where I was doing a lot of the spinning of that silk merino blend. Even like a week later, I'm like, there's still silk in the air. Oh my. Honestly, it was like poison. It was horrendous. No one warns you that the fibers will set your nose off. No one warns you. I'm here to warn you. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. This is, aside from me being silly, this is drafting really smoothly. Once I get used to it, it'll be much better. I feel like I'm genuinely going to get through that 20 grams in like no time. It's going to be amazing. This feels a lot faster. Whether it is faster, I don't really know, because I'm still spinning quite thin, but who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I've bought 12 items. I'm including jewelry in this as well, just because. I bought 12 items this year. I read somewhere once that the average in the UK was something like 40 items a year. So 12 is pretty good. And I spent most of the afternoon this afternoon having a look through my wardrobe. I don't necessarily believe in performative purchases. Let me try that again. I don't necessarily believe in performative purges, right? Because if you're getting rid of, like, I got rid of 100 items, but you did nothing for the other side, but you did nothing for the items coming in, like you haven't slowed that down, then it doesn't mean anything. All that is just generating more waste. So, you know, I don't really like these videos where they're like, I got rid of 100 items of clothing. Like, because I feel like a lot of the time they're not addressing the other side of it. And then the next video would be like, oh, Shein haul. And I'm like, oh no, oh no. And my issue isn't really that they're buying from my Shein. The issue I have is that in the decluttering video and so forth, they'll be talking about things like, oh, this is so much better for the environment because your wardrobe's more curated. And then in the next breath, they then buy like 20 trousers from Shein. And I'm like, Shein itself isn't really the problem. The 20 trousers is the problem. And, you know, I'm not like judging other people, but I feel like when you have a platform, you kind of have a bit of a responsibility to kind of model good behavior, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of the time, the reason why decluttering cycles happen and why people feel the need to do these purges is because the consumption rate is too high. And that's not a problem because of the individual. That's like a cultural issue because we've normalized this. This is normal. And as I say, I am not a minimalism. I'm doing so well today. I'm not a minimalist. I'm not. Because I no longer believe in that sort of thing, because I don't really believe that that works, because I feel like it's addressing the wrong side of the issue. The issue isn't how many items you own. It isn't how many items you get rid of. The issue is how many items are entering into the home. That is the issue. And also, not just how many in terms of number, but do these items serve you? Are they serving you? If they are, there's no real issue. If they're not serving you, because I wasn't thinking about this properly, was I? No, I was not. Because I bought too many shirts. I did. I mentioned shirts because I have too many. I bought too many. And I had a look at a bunch of them today and I'm like, I don't even like these. And I'm like, if you don't like them, why did you buy them? Silly. And the answer is because I was younger. I was younger and I was sillier. Because we all grow and mature over time. Yeah. I've seen videos where people talk about Project Pan a lot, right? Then they're saying, oh, but, you know, Project Pan content, a lot of it is just like, but how did you end up with all this in the first place? That's overconsumption. And I'm like, yes, but also people change over time. People might acknowledge that, hey, I've gotten into this situation and now I want to fix it. And that's an okay thing. And that's kind of a difficult thing to admit too, that you made a mistake. And also, it's the internet. Is it necessarily anyone's business how someone lives their lives, really? You know, I would never judge anyone based on, you know, how many clothes they owned or you know, anything like this, because I feel like people can get strangely judgmental over this. Like, oh, if you have more than 10 things, and like there's an extreme angle to this where, oh, if you have more than 10 things, then you have a shopping addiction. I'm like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think we need to give people a little bit more grace here, just a little bit. Because I don't feel like, well, as soon as you say to someone, you have a shopping addiction and you this, that, and the other, that person is immediately going to shut down. That person is not going to listen to you from there on in. So if you wanted to change hearts and minds, that's not the way. It's just not. You need to treat that person with a certain degree of respect. And I don't think using terms like shopping addiction casually is very good, because then these words lose meaning, because some people genuinely have a shopping addiction. And to use these terms casually, I feel like cheapens those terms and makes it harder for these people to kind of get help and information that they might need. Because it's like a genuinely hard thing to admit to yourself, and then you go looking for information. Where are you going to look first? Google. You might say, oh, you should go to your GP. Yeah, but have you seen the NHS lately? The NHS is not exactly known for this. You should. I mean, if you do have an issue with this, you should seek a therapist. You should seek medical attention. You should. But let's acknowledge here that medical attention is often hard to get, which is why people go to Google first to begin with, which is just the unfortunate state of our society. So I don't want anyone to think I'm judging them by expressing how I am approaching things and how I'm approaching my low-buy. Because this isn't a if you don't do this and you are a hoarder. No, this isn't, you are a hoarder. No, that's not what this is. No. Because I don't believe in that sort of thing. I don't believe in casually calling people hoarders just because they're not a minimalist. That doesn't make sense. But I do believe trying to think about these things conscientiously, because I know that being a minimalism is like too much, because I have to buy clothes, because if I don't buy clothes, all my clothes wear out all at once, and I end up in a panic being like, oh, I need clothes for work, and then I end up buying too many, and then none of the wardrobe makes sense because I bought everything cheaply and quickly. Which I've been in that scenario, which is how I know it doesn't work. Equally, I don't want to do the thing that's become normalized, which is buy too much. There has to be a balance somewhere there. And do I know where the balance is? No, I do not. I don't know where that balance is. And I want to find out. And that's part of what this no-buy is. It's kind of low-buy, not no-buy. It's kind of an experiment. You know, I want to be extremely fussy, buy very few things, buy one item per category, so everything's spread out. You know, so my existing wardrobe gets, you know, nicely topped up across all the categories, not just hyper-focused in some areas. And also, I do want to see what kind of impact this has on how I think about my wardrobe and whatnot. Okay, this top is old. This top is second-hand from my mum. My mum shrunk it in the washing machine and she gave it me. So this is an old top. And it looks great with these trousers. It looks like a brand new top. It's fantastic. So, you know, you look at this top and think, oh, that's an old top, and then you pair it with a brand new trousers, this is great. But then, of course, I like these trousers because they're brand new. It's like, ooh, new toy syndrome, right? Of course, I don't know how they're going to behave across my wardrobe long term. However, the theory is there because this is a colour that appears across my wardrobe a great deal. And it's going to match all the other colours that are across my wardrobe, the green, the red, and all this sort of thing. In theory, it will work excellently. So it has a good chance. Of becoming a wardrobe favourite. Or certainly a wardrobe staple that makes... Because at the moment, virtually all my trousers are green, and I have one brown pair and I have one black pair. Other than that, they're all green. Which is kind of a problem. If I want to wear a green top, I'm pretty much stuck with like a monochrome situation. So I'm like, this should bring some versatility to the wardrobe. This should be a nice update that really serves the trouser category excellently and isn't just another pair of green trousers, because I have far too many. Excellent. I think I've said my piece on that one. And I think I've been talking for too long. And I think you get the point, and I think you're kind of sick of hearing about these darn trousers. I like them, can you tell? Oh, not second-hand, though. Not second-hand, no. I didn't quite succeed on that front. I tried, and then I got scammed on Etsy. No, not Etsy, eBay, earlier this year. I did. Not eBay. Vinted! It was Vinted. Yes, I got scammed. I did. I actually got scammed on Etsy too earlier this year. It was a strange day. Strange. Both had lots of positive reviews that looked pretty real to me. They didn't look fake, but can you really tell nowadays? Apparently not. And also, I'm going to end here, and I'm also going to mention that I've done the very silly thing, and I bought a red skirt. These arrived, and I immediately bought a red skirt. So that's going to be my 13th item for the year. Let's see, shall we? Because it's an Etsy purchase. In fairness, I looked up the seller, and they have a physical shop and lots of reviews across different sites. So that would be a very difficult thing to fake as a dropper shipper. And, you know, they're well known, kind of. Yeah, so hopefully it goes well. We'll see. We'll see. For now, I need to stop rambling about this, because I guarantee you half of you don't even care about the wardrobe organization side of things. Probably because I've not really introduced it properly to my channel. I will at some point. I'll do like a full-on video about like the low buy and stuff and how it all is working and how I'm going to approach it and that kind of thing. But for now, I need to stop rambling and say goodbye. And that's a wrap. That's the end of the video. And now I'm introducing you to Curtie, because this is a part of the video. At the end of every single video, I give someone a shout out, like, go check out this person. If you like my stuff, you'll like their stuff. You know, that's just what we do here. At the end of every single video. So, now, this person, Curtie, 2 videos so far on her channel. Brand new channel, 20 subs, you know? And look how wonderful, you know, look how wonderful. Like, the video is really calming, relaxing kind of style narration. Wonderful. She's from Washington State. Fantastic. Yes, go share the love. And for me, I will see you next time. Goodbye.